You have your content strategy, YouTube, you have to have listings like trainings for the agents, and we're building out the presentation. How do you even think through, being a visionary? I'm sure you have all these ideas.
You would be very scared to see inside my brain.
Jen Dillard.
Jen Dillard.
You got into real estate in 2007, but then you relaunched your career in 2015, 2017 when you moved to Hood River, Oregon from Washington. You had a pretty big jump going from 21 million to 85 million. How did you make that jump?
I think for a while I listened to the noise, and there was a lot of noise. I was new to the area. I started to have success and people didn't like me for it. They didn't like my marketing. It was the other agents in the area, and they don't want you to succeed. It was hard, but it doesn't matter. Don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from.
What are you trying to solve now in this new market where homes are sitting on the market for 30, 60, 90 days?
We do a lot of marketing. We do a lot of video marketing. We do a lot, of other marketing as well. And I think that it helps to some extent, but at the end of the day, it just gets down to
You got into real estate in 2007, but then you relaunched your career in 2015. Really, actually in 2017 when you moved to Hood River, Oregon from Washington. And you had a pretty big jump going from 21 million to 78 million. And then last year you did 85 million. I was curious, how did you make that jump, especially as a mother? You're spending, your hands are in a lot of different places. So how did you make that happen?
I think that there were many different factors in the jump. I think, growing my team, of course, was part of it. I think really building my brand locally and being somebody that people know, like, and trust, I think has made a huge difference. I rolled out a campaign with my coach from the Tom Ferry organization, and it was called the I See You Everywhere campaign. And we had this thought that if we hit all these different marketing channels and created content for all these different channels, the goal was that at some point people would start saying, I see you everywhere. And it actually worked exactly that way. I started having people coming up to me at the grocery store and, at the coffee shop saying, I see you everywhere. And just recently I was talking to my son's friend. He was over at my house and he said, Mrs. Dillard, I was playing a video game the other day and your ad popped up. And I was like, oh, that's weird, but cool. I'm like, did it make you want to buy a house?
So what did that consist of? Because I'm sure it's not just content. You just didn't just put on Instagram or YouTube. There's probably a lot of different places.
Yeah, for sure. So, with video, I think video is extremely important, and it's been a huge factor in my growth for sure. But I think that if you do video, and that's one of the channels that you like to post on Instagram, for example, I think it's really important to also have many different places and diversify your content, because what if Instagram goes down? What if your Instagram gets hacked and your profile is shut down? You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. So we did mailers, we did Google pay-per-click, we did local services ads, we did YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Community events have been a huge part of our business and how we've grown. And also, most importantly, is a way that we give back to our community is through events that are free for the community. So those are just some of the ways.
And I think I saw somewhere you did 24 events in a year.
Yeah, that's for 2024, we have 24 events on the calendar. Yeah.
So what are those that's twice a month.
It's pretty wild. So we have, it can be anything from like, for example, we just yesterday hosted our Photos with Santa event, which is one of our biggest events. And we had from 12 to 2, it was in one location. And then from 3 to 5, we transported Santa and his sleigh to another location, and we were there from 3 to 5. And so that's, one of our bigger events. We have 2 Easter egg hunts that we do. So our area is, we're in Oregon and Washington. So
Yep.
most of my agents are duly licensed. And so it's important that we have the events in Oregon and in Washington as well, just for those people that don't want to cross the bridge for 5 minutes. So we have 2 Easter egg hunts, 2 Photos with Santa events. We do, headshots in our office for the community, for people that are wanting to update their headshots. We have clothing swaps. We have, there's so many different events that we host, and we love it. It's so much fun.
So there's a few things that pop up when I think about that. Like the first one that I think everyone's asking probably is like, one, how do you afford to do all these different events? Like,
great question.
And then I have another question after that, but I was curious, how do you think through that like marketing budget for events?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what we have done that's worked really well for us is we have built relationships with the vendors, the other businesses in our community. And so they help with the cost. For example, yesterday, there's an insurance company that we work with that provided cookies and, treats and a giveaway and things like that. And then the venue for yesterday was hosted by the hotel. The hotel's already decorated beautifully. So there's nothing that we need to do for decor or setup or anything. We just have to show up and put our booth, little booth together and bring Santa. And so really the only cost to us is the photographer and Santa, which is a total for us of $1,000. And last year we sold 5 homes from that one event, and that was about 73,000 in GCI. So it comes back and
yeah, the ROI there is
it's
pretty
crazy.
good.
Yeah.
And I imagine like not because when you're having 2 events every single month, it's not, because for example, it's like whenever you have like a meeting with a team or you have this other thing, it's like if you only do it like once a year, or you only have this big event like once a month or whatever, you're going to go all out. But if you're having 2 events a month, it's going to vary. They're not all going to necessarily be a huge party.
No, definitely not. Some of them are much smaller. Some of them are just for clients. Some are for the whole community. Some are for other local businesses. It just depends. And it's definitely some are small and some are larger. Yeah. They do vary.
That's good, because I'm sure that makes it a lot more manageable too, when it's like not every single one's like this huge all out party.
Yeah. That would be a lot for sure. Yeah. We also make open houses and events. So if we have a big listing that, we want to really showcase, we do a mega open house, but like on steroids. We make it a huge event where it's, we send out invitations to RSVP to us for a secret location. And we start, so people start RSVPing and they have no idea where it's going to be. And then we announce the location and it's one of our listings. So that's really fun too.
How do you think through do you have a creative marketing strategy for it? Like, walk me through like the thought process of one of those?
An open house or?
Like a mega open house. Yeah.
A mega open house. Yeah. So, it really just depends on the property. So for example, we had a listing in an area close to where close by, it's about 20 minutes away, and it's one of our markets, Mosier. And so and that area is really known for its wine, and there's some really amazing wineries over there. And so we had a wine tasting with one of the local wineries, and we had them provide a wine tasting. We had a local business provide a charcuterie board. And then we just said that it was going to be a surprise event, wine tasting with charcuterie provided by Native Provisions, and then a surprise location to be announced. And so we had probably had 50 or 60 people RSVP before the location was even announced. And then,
Hmm.
of course, when it was announced, we had people that were interested in buying the home as well. But it was amazing. We got so many, and maybe it was we didn't get any buyers that from that event that were particularly looking or that were interested in that particular house, but we
Yep.
got so many contacts and buyers that are looking at, that ended up purchasing other homes from that.
And that's ultimately you're kind of trying to do both, trying to knock two
Yeah,
birds out
for
with one
sure.
stone, like try to get a buyer, but really it's
Mm-hmm.
like how can you build a brand? How can you get more
Exactly.
clients?
Exactly. It's all about staying top of mind and showcasing not only the seller that you're doing the open house for, but other potential sellers that you do go above and beyond and that you are willing to put in the work to get the home sold.
And so I want to talk about that in a second because I feel like there's some things that you do because everyone talks about like selling a listing, but like you're doing listing videos, you have like a staging company, like there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole like, and then you have your 360-degree approach. So you kind of do a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
before we kind of get into that, I'm a little like, how long do you spend marketing like the open houses? Do you spend a week? Do you give it like a month? And then is there like a budget behind that? Or is it just your current database, your lists that you have right now?
Yeah, we usually put a budget about $500 for each open house. And it really depends on the listing. If it's a listing that's $4 million, we'll probably spend more.
Yeah.
Um, so it depends on the listing. So as far as the budget goes, that's, what that looks like. Yeah. Marketing wise, like the amount of time we put into it, we try to start early. Like our events, we start planning a year in advance, but with open houses, we don't really have the ability to do that. So it's more like a couple of weeks in advance minimum.
Okay.
Because we want to give people time to be able to schedule it in their calendars and make sure that they can find babysitters or whatever they need to be able to attend the event.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because nowadays, like everyone wants to do content, everyone wants to do video. Like digital is definitely like the way to go. But
Mm-hmm.
even when you think about like business to business, like the agent world, and
Mm-hmm.
like you think of events for that, and then you think of the consumer side and the events there, there's a huge win to just bringing people together and
Yeah,
holding those events.
yeah, absolutely.
I just feel like that's overlooked, and it feels like you've kind of taken it and you're like, this is going to be our marketing like approach, and we're going to use this and go all out on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think events have become kind of what we're known for in our community, and people. I think that it really creates this sense of trust and this sense of people know our faces, they know our names, but they also can trust that we care about not just a transaction, but about the community as a whole. And I think that's really important. I think that it's such a important this career, and being a real estate agent is about creating community, creating a place that people feel like they can call home, not just by purchasing a home, but the community as a whole. So I think it's really important to build those relationships.
How much of that do you think goes back to like your thought process around going above and beyond with listings, like doing the video, having the
Mm-hmm.
staging, like when you're like a lot of times like in business when you're backed up against a corner, you tend to be more creative and you tend to like go all out.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, and I'm just curious, how much of this kind of came out of like when you moved into this brand new market and started from scratch, you were probably willing to do more than other people, and now you're starting to see the fruits of the labor of that. Kind
Yeah.
of like, what's your thought on that?
So when I moved to the area that I'm in right now, I moved from the Seattle area. And so there, it was a few steps, that market was a few steps ahead of the area that I'm in now in Hood River, in the sense that it was, more um, modern marketing. We had more modern marketing and everybody was doing staging. And there was, and then I moved to Hood River and I noticed that there was there was room for growth and elevating the current, what people were being offered as far as, especially sellers. I just felt like there was nobody that was doing modern staging and there was nobody that was doing, video at all. And nobody was doing, like the staging in the way that we were offering it as a complimentary service. And I just felt like there was such a need to elevate the market. And so I took it upon myself to build that. And it wasn't to compete, it was more just to provide what I felt like people needed. And I bought a home here during, when I moved here, and I was so disappointed with the level of service, and really was excited to bring that. So that's where it came from.
So how do you work through like the financial aspect of the staging company, like
Mm-hmm.
in doing it complimentary, like you would
Mm-hmm.
have to buy all of the, can you walk me through that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started just, buying pieces when I could. I would just acquire things. I would go to Home Goods or Target, or, just start buying pieces here and there for home, one home at a time. And then I was fortunate enough to have a friend who was was going to be and closing her staging business. And so she offered to sell me all of her staging
Oh, wow.
and her trailer. And so that was amazing. So we acquired all of her furniture, and that really gave us a boost
Hmm.
in the inventory that we had. And so it's just grown from there, as we've sold more homes, and as we just continue to grow the inventory. And we have somebody on staff that does the staging, and that's their sole job, is to stage all of our listings. And yeah, so, and we have some awesome some guys some high schoolers that come, and they help after school and they move furniture, and it's great. I mean, it provides employment for some of the high school kids, and it really is great for our clients. So
So you earned $0 off the staging company. You said it's complimentary.
it is. Mm-hmm. Yep. We don't charge anything. And we also don't charge extra as far as our commission goes. It's not built in. It's just complimentary, truly. Yeah.
That's crazy because most people, like most teams at a certain size, you start thinking it's like, okay, how can I horizontally go into different sides of the business,
Yeah.
make extra revenue?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, no, let me just make it part of the business
Yeah.
and not charge the client for it.
Yeah. I mean, we've found that by offering additional services, these ancillary services, we get more clients because we're able, we don't need to charge them more. So it's not always just about the money either. I think that
Yeah.
when you have a genuine interest in the clients, the money will come. So,
And I think that's like all of this is me trying to like shape this idea that you've kind of formulated in a lot of different ways, like where you think about the consumer and you're like, how can we actually, because for most people, they have to justify like
yeah.
what they're worth. I feel like you probably don't have that problem on listing appointments and commission.
No, I don't. When I tell people that all of this, I go through in our listing, my listing presentation, I go through everything that we offer. And then they ask, okay, well, what's your commission? And I tell them what the commission is. And they're like, So where are these extra charges? Where do these extra charges come in? And I'm like, there are no extra charges. And they're blown away that they get to have all of, everything that we offer, and they don't have to pay more for it. So
You
yeah.
were you at the real? I know you're at the real. So were you at the
Yeah.
event where Alex Hormozy
Yeah.
spoke?
It was. Yeah.
Did you
Hmm.
read his book,
Yes,
Hundred
I
Million?
have. Hmm.
So
Yep.
did did you incorporate the $100 million offer, like just thought process in a way to your listing appointment? Now with
I mean,
like
not intentionally, but
not
yes.
intention.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask because it's like I know it wasn't intentionally, but now you're starting to see it, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait a second, we're doing this.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And it's like, okay, what else? What else can we do? Like, how else can we, where is there a need? What is the problem that we're trying to solve, and who are we trying to help? That's really, it's really the other way around, that we think is like, who are we trying to help, and what are we trying to solve? And once you ask yourself those questions in every capacity with with sellers, who are we trying to help, and what are we trying to solve? What are the problems that sellers are having? And this is a conversation that we have every week in our meeting. Like, what problems are you seeing out there, and what can we do to help? And buyers, same thing. And I think that when you really come from a place of trying to help and solve problems, it makes it really fun and rewarding, not just financially.
What are you trying to solve now in this new market where homes are sitting on the market for like 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah.
People are probably asking a lot of questions like
Mhm.
in other cases, I should say, like, what are you doing to sell my house? Like, are you getting my house sold? Like, what are you guys talking about on your team?
Well, we do a lot of marketing. We do a lot of video marketing. We do a lot, of other marketing as well. And I think that it helps to some extent, but at the end of the day, it just gets down to the basics, and it gets down to getting very specific on who is the ideal buyer for this house, and where do they like to, what do they like to do? Where do they like to go? Where do they live right now? And just getting very, very specific about who that buyer is. And then strategizing and being strategic with and intentional with your marketing to really target that particular person. And that's something that's really helped us a lot. And then I think also, um, you know, trying to think outside of the box on marketing and being more creative. And my coach calls them dog whistles, where we'll kind of like say something in a video that's really specifically targeting one person, and it's not directed at that person, but it's like there's like a underlying message. So you'll probably go back and watch my videos and go, ooh, I think this is going out, this is for this kind of person or for this person. Um, but yeah, yeah, we just have so much fun with it. I think it's important to just enjoy what you do and have fun with it, and drown out the noise. There's so much noise, and there's from the media, from local competitors, if you will. Like, I think that there's just so much noise, and I think if you just focus on what you're doing, keep your eyes on your own paper, and really enjoy it and have fun with it, gosh, it can be so much fun.
Talking about like creative marketing, your video with Brad, which
Yes,
for if most people haven't seen it, you had a like $4 million listing in Salmon River,
on the
and
White Salmon River. Yeah. Hmm.
why did you have Brad come and do a video for that with you?
You know, Brad is a really good friend of mine, and I called him and just said, "Hey, I have this listing, and I really want to have the video, like, just make a statement and come out with a bang. And what do you think I should do?" And I FaceTimed him from the listing, and I was like, "What do you think? Like, what should I do that's different with this video?" And he said, "When does it go on?" And I said, "It goes on in about a week and a half." He's like, "I'm going to come. Let's shoot it together." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm booking a flight tonight. And what's really funny is Brad's going to kill me, but Brad booked a flight, but he booked a flight to Seattle. And you fly into Portland to come here. And so I was like, cool, but you need to change your flight. So yeah, so him and his awesome videographer, Levy, came out and we shot the video and we had so much fun. It was
What did
great.
you learn about listing videos that you're now taking away for your listing videos shooting with him?
Yeah, well, I think my videographer, Lalo, learned a ton from Levy. And then also, I think that from Brad, what Chrissy Wood on my team and I learned is that it's more about being like, you really want to give a tour. You want to get really specific about the details of the home and the area and what it's like to live in the area. And so, it's not just like, hi, I'm Jen Dillard and this is my listing app, blah, blah, blah. Come take a look. It has countertops. It has lights, like, just getting like very, very specific about the details of it. Like the tray ceilings in this home are unbelievable. And this quartz countertop or this like soapstone counter, like name the exact type of material that's used. And like it has these specks of gold that pop out just when the light hits it right. And, just like really getting specific about the details.
Yeah. So I actually broke down Brad's listing videos. I watched a lot and
Yeah.
created this breakdown in my newsletter. And
Mm-hmm.
I did this is like my thought process around his thought process was like
Mm-hmm.
you have the ideal client that you're trying to like target the house. The house is a
Yeah.
product and you think about reverse engineer like, okay, who are the type of people that would buy this product? Like
Yeah.
so thinking through of your like White Salmon River house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to think of like what's the location, the lifestyle of the location, what's around it, and then it's the actual house. And then the house has like a macro and a micro. The macro is like the big details, the micros, like you said. And
Yep.
I was just curious, like how often, like first, just thinking through that, and now the way you're thinking through like your listings, like
Yeah.
I don't want you to like be nice. I'm curious, like how right or wrong, like, and then uh, how are you thinking of like your new listings and the videos with that kind of lens now?
We're really being more intentional. Like we're thinking about, you know, what before it used to just be we'd show up and we'd just shoot the listing video and it was like just wing it. And now it's really thought out and intentional. And we think about what is what's special about that particular neighborhood or that area, and what about, like how quick can you get to the airport from here, and what how close is the local grocery store, or just really include the details, schools, things like that. And then once we're inside the house, what makes the house special, because every house is special, every house has something that makes it
Yeah.
different, and you really want to build, make people feel like they're in the home, describe it so well that people feel like they're there or they want to be there and they really want to see it for themselves. And so we're just getting so intentional with them. And we're also recording like long form and then creating reels from there as well. So we used to make our listing videos like, super fast, 90 seconds or whatever. And now they're like 6 to 8 minutes. And then there's the reel in addition to that. Yeah.
So I know a lot of people would be like 6, 8 minute listing videos. Like, how do you even talk for that long?
I
Walking.
mean, if you've met me, I can talk for that long. Yeah, it's pretty easy once you start walking through and talking about, you want to stand outside and talk about that, the house itself, the area. why it's, where you are and all of and then you go inside and you give a tour. You just start giving a tour. And I mean, if you've done a showing, you know that showings last more than 6 to 8 minutes. So it's pretty easy, actually.
Were you
Yeah,
you do a lot of video now,
I do.
but
Hmm.
were you like, did video come easy for you when you first started?
No. I mean, I still hate, the way that I sound or the way that I look, or, it's just, we're all our worst critic. And I think one thing that I have just realized is I'll never feel happy with any of them. I need to just put them out there. And it's not about me. It's about, if I'm providing educational content and it's something that's going to help somebody else, then it doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's not about how I look or how I sound. It's about the content itself. And so I've just been really making sure that I feel happy with the content and happy with what I'm sharing, and it's gotten easier for me. But if I told somebody else on a podcast recently that I think I need to go back and find my first video and post it because it is so bad. I mean, it is, whew, it's rough, but you know what? We all start from zero. We all start from
Yeah.
our first video, our, zero followers, zero listings, zero clients. Like everybody starts from zero. So gotta just get it, just start.
I think it's easy for like, kind of like looking at your business, like it's easy for people to be like, oh yeah, easy for you to say like you're selling 70 million, easy for you, like it's easy to look at you at the finish line,
Yeah.
but people don't always look at what it took to kind of get you to that point, like,
Yeah. No,
and
I mean,
how many videos you had to put out, how many deals, bad transactions.
yeah, I remember like, gosh, it'd be so cool to hit 500 followers or 1,000 followers. And I was so into the followers, like and then once I stopped caring, it really grew because I was caring too much about the numbers when that's not what's important. It's about the content and providing value and education. And once I started focusing on that, the followers came, and and it's all such a journey, like I moved to this area, and it was a very humbling experience because I didn't have my group of friends or my family, or I didn't have, like, I had to start from scratch. And it was a very humbling experience, and I am grateful that I've built such a sense of community here, and that um, I have my team around me, and it's been a really amazing but humbling journey.
What's been the hardest part of it?
Um, I think for a while I listened to the noise, and there was a lot of noise. I was new to the area. People didn't, and I started to have success, and people didn't like me for it. They didn't like my marketing. They didn't like, and it was the other, other agents in the area, and they don't want you to succeed. And like, it was hard because I really am a people pleaser and I care, and it hurt my feelings. But eventually I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm surrounded. I have so many people that do love me and care and support me. And like, there's a Brene Brown quote that says, don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from. And it has just stuck in my head, and I carry that with me every day. And I just drown out the noise. I focus on my team and my clients and my family, and like nothing else matters. So
Brene Brown's great.
she is. Hmm.
Did you ever get caught up looking at the views, or like looking at, like, over analyzing what you're doing?
Of course. Yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I got caught up in the views and the followers and, what other people were doing. And gosh, it's so toxic when you focus on that. And but I definitely got caught up in it. And I got caught up in scrolling all the time and just seeing what other people were doing. And I've limited myself to 20 minutes a day. That's all I get for scrolling. And I, one of my friends, Phil Gertis, calls it like time. He goes in and he likes, you know, other people's and comments on their stuff. And I took that. And so now that's my time. I have 20 minutes where I can engage with other people and do what I need to do. And that's it.
I do this subconsciously, like now, but do you like certain posts? Like I like certain posts just because I want them to be like at the top of my feed and to keep popping up. So like I know I'm kind of like purposely like programming my feed to only show me like this stuff. I don't know if you do that consciously or subconsciously.
I don't. I actually will just favorite, favorite an account so that those stay at the top of my feed. But I do engage with other people that I think are doing a great job, or I save people's stuff. I save other people's content that I think is awesome that I would love to, do something similar and make it my own. I think that one thing that is just so many people are just trying to be exactly like someone else, and you
Yep.
are the only version of you. And I think that it's so important to just be yourself. And if you're funny, be funny. And if you're, like, I just think that there's such a bad imposter syndrome happening where people are just really wanting to copy someone else's content to a T. And I think that what makes accounts fun to watch is the uniqueness of them and the uniqueness of the person. And I don't know. I think that I follow, if you looked at what accounts I follow, there's so much diversity in there. I like certain accounts for different reasons.
So I think some of the best inspiration comes from usually when you look outside the industry,
Yes.
because it's kind of like cooking, where it's like
Mhm.
you can look at a recipe, but then you can take all these different ingredients. You're like, okay, let me see how I'll make it my way. And I feel like real estate has a copycat syndrome where everyone
Yeah.
feels like, oh, this person's doing it, so it must be working. It must be
Yes.
doing well.
Exactly. And also, I think that people think like, okay, I'm going to shoot a listing video, and they put it on their Instagram and they like, hi, I'm so and so, and this is a house. And they're super basic, which is cool. But I think that what you need to do is you need to make your listing videos intentional. And then what are you doing with them? If you're just posting them on your Instagram and you have 800 followers and you're like, that's it, and it's just your local market that's seeing it, are you really doing your clients a service? Or are you doing them a disservice by spending the time to create this? You need to push it out. It really needs to be pushed out to a wide audience. It's not about you. It's not about showcasing you. It's about pushing it out to find the buyer.
You, whether I don't know if you are you first of all, before I kind of dive a little in, are you more of a visionary or integrator? I don't know if you know EOS.
I am a visionary for sure. I have an
Uh,
amazing integrator, but I am a visionary. Yes.
the reason I ask is because the Monday.com, all this, like, so
Yeah.
you have a lot of these processes like built out,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
kind of looking at that, what you just said was like, you could label it as like the ideation or creation, and then the other is like the promotion or the distribution.
Yeah.
And how do you think through that process? Like, do you have a whole process for it? Like, is it already buttoned up? Like, it's already on Monday? Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have an SOP, a standard operating procedure for everything. So our Monday is full of SOPs, and there's one for everything for sure. Hmm.
So, did you build it or?
I built it with our director of operations. Yeah, we built it
Okay.
together. Hmm.
Because I have this conversation with a handful of people, and some people who are very visionary, they start to say,
Hmm.
well, do I need to build it myself? Like, I'm not very detail oriented. I can't, that's like not my way. Like,
Mhm.
how did you go about going from like a visionary to being like, okay, let me actually spend time building out these?
Well, I think what's sometimes, team leaders are not actually in the field. They are more just overseeing the team, but I am actually in the field and I still actively sell real estate. And so I know what my process is and what process that I encourage the team to use. And so I just I walk her step by step through what my process is, and then we add to it. So it's a constant, it's constantly changing and growing and getting, more intentional, more strategic, more, what else can we do for the clients to make this process even better? But it starts off as this is the process that I use, and then we continue to grow it from there. And it's something the team, my team has access to. So of course they use all of the SOPs as well, and so they say, hey, I think we could add this, and it would make a big difference if we added this to the procedure. And of course we do. We listen to what they see too.
So, do you do this in like a meeting with her? You're like, okay, here, let's break down this process, or do you
Yeah.
make a Loom video? Like, how do you transfer your thought process?
We do the video. We create the SOPs together just in a meeting, and then we do have Loom videos, and we have Trainual, or we, walk the team through it, so that when we have a new member join the team, that we have the videos so that they can see, exactly how to utilize all of the systems that we have.
Going from a high performer to a leader, there tends to
Mhm.
be like a shift that needs to happen. And you're huge on like culture, team.
Yeah.
Where did you learn all that?
Experience. I just learned as I go, and I have a lot to learn. I'm not perfect by any stretch, but yeah, I don't think any of it was something that I learned in a class or anything like that. It's just been by doing and by failing and by getting back up and dusting myself off and getting back after it. So I swear I have 9 lives like a cat.
Did you ever have like the wrong culture on the team?
100%. Yes. Hmm. Yeah. In fact, this year, we had a pretty big team for a while there. I think we were at like 16 agents. And we've scaled back to 10. And this year was a huge change. We removed a lot of seats from the table that just didn't belong there anymore. Um, and it's really changed the culture for the better. And it's not that those people are bad, it's just that they were just not the right fit. And I think that they would agree that it just, maybe they weren't meant to be on a team, or maybe our team wasn't the right fit, or, we hold our team to a pretty high standard. And we have, community events are a big deal for us, and making sure that everybody on the team participates in those. And we have a team meeting every week that everybody, needs to be at. And, you're required to participate in our trainings. And so if there's a negative attitude, or like you can sense that somebody's not happy to be there, it can just ruin the whole vibe for everybody else. So even though, we've had to let people go that were top performers, but it just wasn't, was no longer a good fit.
You have a great quote: culture is everything. One bad egg will spoil the bunch.
So true.
It kind of speaks to the fact that like you're willing to let go like a high performer.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Was there any fear in that decision?
Of course. I mean, change is always scary, and it's always scary to, I think for so long I focused on the number. There was so much pressure to build a team for a while there. And it was like, everybody needs to have a team, and you need to have a big team and as many agents as possible. And it got to the point where it was quantity over quality. And I don't mean that in the sense that they weren't top performers, but it was like even though it may not have been the right culture fit, we kept people on the team because we didn't want to have our numbers go down. And then I got to the point where it was so stressful for me every day. And I felt like I was constantly having these really hard conversations that just were unnecessary. And so, I felt like it was important to just say, hey, listen, do you feel like this is the right fit for you? And, maybe do you think that it might be better for you if you were to go off on your own? Or like so we had to have these conversations with a few people, and they chose to go off on their own, and they're killing it and they're doing great. And that's awesome. And I'm so, so happy for them. But we are also doing so much better as a team, just culture wise. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, and you're not, you go to work every day and you feel stressed and anxious, and you're wearing your shoulders as earrings, like it's not working. Even if the numbers are working and you're profitable and all the things, like, it's not worth it. Life's short.
Yeah, you have another quote that kind of speaks to that. You said, "I thrive in a team environment, and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
team player." So there's two schools of thought with this. One, there's like the team is a family, and then there's the
Mm-hmm.
Netflix one where the team is a sports team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you attribute to one, the other, or
Yes.
both?
We are a family for sure. We're very tight knit, and it is, I know that everyone on this team has my back, and they know that I have theirs. And we are, we tried, like, tomorrow we're having our last meeting before the holiday, and wear our Christmas pajamas, and have our meeting and play games, and then we're gonna have Christmas movies playing in the conference room, and people can like work and step out and come back in, and it's just like it's home. It's our home away from home. It's the other besides our family, we spend the most time with each other. So it's important to have a strong relationship. And I think one thing that I've noticed with some other team leaders that I've talked to is that there's so much focus on numbers and production. And I think if there's anything I've done right, I think that it's making sure that my team members know that I'm here for them personally and not just professionally. And that if they need something and it's, you know, 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, call me. I'm there. Like they know that I'm always here for them. And I think that really has built a sense of trust, and it's built a sense of, we all want to work hard for each other, and we want to be successful for each other. So
Walk me through a little bit of your thought process, because so team culture can sound like this great grandiose idea. Like it's like
yeah.
everyone kind of wants it, but it's this thing that you have to kind of cultivate. It's not something that.
Yeah.
So when you think about things that you do intentionally or unintentionally, or like you think of like next year and you're thinking about like, okay, what do I want my culture strategy or the team strategy to be? What are those pieces that you put in place
Mhm.
to help build that?
I think spending more time together as a team and making sure that it's not just when you are together, it's not just business. Getting to know the people that you spend, most of your days with, and whether it be like a golfing outing, or we're going to do a day where we go up to the mountain and ski together, and and it's not work related, but it's like it's team bonding and team building. And um, I think we'll do more of that in the new year, and um, more trainings, more time together in the office as well. But I think that personal connection is really important too.
That's what I was going to ask, because you mentioned meetings a lot.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
how important do you think like meetings, trainings, like how regimented are you on stuff like that?
The meetings are every week on Tuesday. Like, doesn't ever nothing change ever changes. It's always on Tuesday. And for agents that are out of the office, they're able to zoom in, and then we have a training right after. In the new year, we have a pretty extensive training schedule. So we have we'll be adding a lot more trainings just with the changes in the industry. And we have a lot of guest speakers that are going to be speaking at our meetings. And so it's going to be exciting.
It's kind of funny when you look at external marketing, you can probably look at like your buckets that you have for your content, like listings, community, and then you think of like your different client acquisition channels, the stuff that you're using to bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that's not always talked about is like the team side, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
similar. And it sounds like you're kind of building out in a way something pretty similar.
Yep, definitely. I think so. And I think that the team, I think that there was such a focus on growing the brand. And I think, and now that the brand is so prominent, I think that now it's time to just go back to focusing on building that, continuing to build that culture and continuing to build that foundation and strengthen the foundation that we have with trainings and with team building and all of the things that we have. I think that just really strengthening those and remembering to keep focused on those as well. Sometimes we lose that a little bit, and like we get so busy that we lose sight of that, and I think it's important to go back to.
I think that's been like one of the biggest blessings with the past like 6 months. The market's been going at 100 miles per hour. We finally get time to like take a step back, slow down. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
what actually do I want to build? Like, what actually do I want to do?
Yeah, yeah.
And so when you look at your trainings, like what topics are you thinking of covering, or what's the big buckets?
The biggest one right now is just buyer broker representation and just making sure that we have a really strong um, buyer presentation, but buyer offering, and making sure that buyers know that we are, like what is our value proposition, because you better have one, and know what your value is so that you can let buyers know what your value is. And we also we're going through our listing presentation and redoing it and revamping it to make sure that we explain, what are the contracts that are involved with, what are the different contracts and relationships that are involved in the process. And, explaining to our clients that the listing contract is between the seller and between the listing agent, and that's how they get, that contract determines how they get paid. And then there's the buyer broker contract. And that, anyway, so we go through and like really explain all of those different contracts. It's such an important thing to do, and especially right now.
So with the buyer side, someone could look and say, well, doesn't every agent provide the same thing? Like what are you trying to offer that would be different than anyone else?
I think just providing, a lot of the buyers that come to this area are not from this area. So really making sure that we have a package put together, a box of, like all the things that they would need to learn about the community and build out, like a packet that has information about the schools and information about the local restaurants, and like giving them that information to help them to feel like informed about the community that they're looking at. So I think that's part of it, but also educational material, trainings for the buyers that, on Loom and things like that, where they can watch these different videos and feel informed. I think it's just education. It's so important. I think buyers, especially, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. They have no idea what earnest money is, or all the things that we know so well, like the back of our hand. They don't understand, especially if they're first time home buyers. So
Are you making every agent do a buyer presentation then, and then you're
yes,
giving all that stuff there?
yes,
Did you do buyer presentations when you started in real estate?
absolutely, yes, yeah, and had buyer broker agreements signed. I've always had that. So
So the reason I ask is because some people like they're taught like not in that way, so they don't
yeah,
always teach the agents on their team to do that.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to get into the place where you have to more than likely go through that.
Yeah. Most of the agents on my team have always done buyer broker presentations, or buyer broker presentations and buyer broker agreements. Like that's not new for us, um, but it's something that we're going to make better. We're just going to continue to improve our value proposition for buyers and sellers.
How are you getting buyers to like sit down on like a 30-minute or like hour long presentation?
I think it's just a matter of letting them know that, it's important to meet face to face, and you want to sit down and you want to, like, we have like a questionnaire that we go through with them to learn more about them, what they're looking for, like not just like what's your name, what's your email, what's your phone number. It's not just basic. It's like pretty in depth, and because we want to get to know them, and we do the same for sellers as well. We get to know who we're working with, what are their favorite restaurants, what do they like, what do they like to do for fun, and it's not just to help to get to know them about, for when they're buying, but also when it comes to closing. Then we know exactly what to get them for a closing gift. And, I think it's important to just really build the relationship and get to know who you're working with.
Outside thinking in, like I'm looking at all these pieces. I'm like, okay, you have your content strategy. You got to do stuff for YouTube. You have to have listings. Now we're doing like trainings for the agents, and
Yeah.
we're building out the presentations, sellers. How do you even like think through like being a visionary? I'm sure like you have all these ideas and
Yeah. You would
you're
be very scared to see inside my brain.
do you just like shoot these ideas and like you just start cataloging these inside of Monday, or like how do you even like put all of this?
Yeah. So I have an incredible director of operations, and I send her my ideas and I put them in. So I have a note, an ongoing note in my Apple Notes, and I add like video ideas and ideas for the business, and it continues to grow from there. And I share it with Whitney, my director of operations. We have regular meetings where I just have a brain dump and just tell her everything that's on my mind. And she goes and she executes, and she lets me know what questions she has. But we are a great team. Whitney and I make a lot of stuff happen. So
I think that is so like under like it's under leverage where you have something that is it's a very easy like process. You have your notes app, like you dump all the notes there. You
mhm.
take that, you have a meeting with her. Like again, you're not like putting it into like this big document. You're not executing it. You're let me document it. Let's
Mhm.
talk on it. Actually talk
Yeah.
about which ideas to execute. And then
Mhm.
she'll take it and put on like Monday, figure out
Yeah,
who executes it and takes it
exactly.
the rest.
Yeah, and we organize in level of priority, because I can have a lot of ideas at once. So she goes, okay, what's priority for me to work on? And we just put it in level, in order of priority, and then we tackle one thing at a time. So,
So how does someone find someone like that to be your integrator?
I think that you need to find somebody that, first of all, that you really get along with, and that um, I think finding somebody who's different than you personality wise. I had somebody that was in the role that was too similar to me personality wise, and that didn't work out. And so Whitney is the yin to my yang. She's more I'm very outgoing. She's more of an introvert. um, I am a visionary. She's the one that executes everything, and she likes to be behind the scenes, and she likes to put everything. She loves to create systems and processes and build stuff out like that. And so we just we're such a good team. When she originally started with me, I wasn't sure. I just knew that I liked her and I saw potential in her. And so I built this role around her. And, and we've had a lot of growing pains. There's been, we've had to have some tough conversations. Like, this isn't exactly what I'm wanting. Like, and she's like, well, you need to be more clear with me and tell me exactly what you want so that I can help you. I can't read your mind. And so she will tell me like it is. Um, and it's just such a good, you just have to find somebody that you can trust and that you just feel like you could literally say anything to. And, no idea is a bad idea. So
Did you have her take any like personality like Myers-Briggs disc
I
or
didn't.
no?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. Mm-mm.
You
No,
just kind
I'm
of
a
like
pretty good I have a pretty good intuition, pretty good judge of character. And, I just knew I liked her right off the bat.
curious because so was she you probably had someone else admin on staff
Hmm. Yeah.
at the time with her too.
Hmm.
How do you I feel like there's a hurdle as like a business owner, like moving from a high performing salesperson, you make all of your money, you take all of it home to a leader where you're like, okay, now I need to figure out how to allocate resources
Hmm.
and figure out do we have the budget to hire? Who do we hire next? And sometimes being okay with saying, I'm going to invest in the growth of the team or invest in the growth of the business.
Hmm.
How do you think through that? And like, because I'm assume she wasn't a cheap hire too. Like, she's not just like
Hmm.
a 30, 40K like salary. So,
No,
like,
she started off that way. Like, it started off that she was just going to be, she was going to be admin, but she was going to be the office manager, and
mm,
she's just grown and continued to move up, to director of operations. But I read, one of my favorite books is Who Not How. And I think that if you have the right people in place, you can really do anything. And I think knowing that, if it was just Whitney and I, we could do anything. And if we definitely have other support that is incredible, and that I hope never leaves the team. But if for some reason we had to scale down to just Whitney and I, we would be fine. So, um, I think just finding people, it's finding the who, finding the people that are, that have the skills and that have the drive to learn and to grow, and will take constructive criticism, and you know will have the desire to grow within the company, and be all in. I think that that's really all you need, is to find the right people and build around them. Find the right people that have the right personality, and then build the role around them.
so looking back at where you started, what do you wish you knew that you knew now that if you told your younger self starting the team would have maybe changed everything for you?
I think that it doesn't need to be big. You don't need to be the biggest, just the best. And the best in the sense of, providing value, and being taking care of clients, and being, just as long as your clients and your community, as long as you have that, you have the support of your clients and your community, and they see the value in you, that's all you need. It does not have to be like this huge team or this big company or brokerage or whatever it is. It can be, even if it's just you, as long as you have your clients see the value, and you're providing a great service, and like, that's all. I think that's all you need. I was so focused on the number of people for so long, and it just doesn't matter.
Why did you even go back to work after having the kids?
I love to work. I love the feeling of I love building. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I love it so much. I love to build, but I also love to help. And I love to, um, I think real estate is such a perfect career for me because I'm able to connect with people on a deeper level, and my clients become my friends most of the time. And I really enjoy the relationship part of it, aspect of it, and helping people with one of their biggest assets. And um, I think that after I had my second kid, I felt a little lost. I felt like I kind of lost my identity a little bit. And I love being a mom. I absolutely love being a mom. But I'm a better mom when I'm doing something for myself and doing something that makes me proud. I feel like I'm a better mom than if I was to be at home with them all day. And I have so much respect for stay at home moms. I mean, they are the heroes for sure. I just, it's not for me. And, and I think it's my kids really, they love coming and going and showing houses with me or doing open houses. They love seeing me work. They love seeing my signs out when they're out with, driving around. And I think it's really cool for them to see mom work so hard.
The reason I'm curious is because like I'm super entrepreneurial. I know I'll never like put anything down. And then my wife is in dermatology PA, and she's just like a worker. And obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but like we're thinking of having kids in the next
Yeah.
like 3 to 5 years. How do you even, because does your husband work too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you balance like all of that?
It takes work, it takes effort. And my husband and I have a weekly date night that is non negotiable. It's, standing date night. We have a date day where we talk as date night. We don't talk about business or kids. Date day, we talk about business because we have a lot of synergy in between our businesses. My husband's a real estate investor, and, we
Mhm.
have a portfolio that's growing, growing, and growing. And so, I think that having those, making sure that you take care of your marriage and your relationship first is really important. And then we don't have childcare during the school year. And so we have a schedule and we drop the kids off. It's, I'm usually the one to drop off and he's the one to pick up. And sometimes we need to shift and we need to, but I think, you know, my kids know that after 5 o'clock, I am all theirs and sometimes earlier, but 5 o'clock, I'm theirs. And I don't get back to looking at emails and checking my phone until I maybe check it once after I put them to bed. But then, it's not until the morning that I'm back at it. And, just having those no phone hours and no phone, areas in your home and just creating boundaries around it. I think, all our kids want is they want our attention and our love. And if you can provide, like, as long as you're providing that to them, whether you work or not, I think I feel like my kids are very happy and well rounded. So.
Yeah, it's crazy because I saw like 78 million, 85 million. Then I saw like you guys have something like 700 units,
Mhm.
like, and then finding out your husband's investor like full time, like he's got his business, and then like I just think of all that, and I think
It's a
of
lot.
you have to be very intentional and then very attentive when you're there in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, the CEO of Real made a statement or sorry, the president of Real made a quote at the Rise conference this year, and he said, "Be where your feet are." And that is another one that's really stayed with me is, wherever you are, be there and be present. And so, if I'm playing with my kids, I'm not also looking at my phone, or if I'm with my husband and we're having a conversation, I'm looking in his eyes and having a conversation. And, I think that just if you is, I think that kids just want your attention, and people, we just want each other, we want each other's attention. So I think if you can like put the phone down and give that real true time, and also just with like a task, I found that my mind goes a million places, and if I just like put my headphones on, I turn off my notifications, and I say focus on that task, I get things done so much faster. And just being present and in the moment, and not like, oh, I just had a ding, my phone's ringing, like a million things. So time blocking, getting really intentional, being present, and taking time for yourself. Like I get up early. I get up at 5, and I get up, I get my workout in, I drink my electrolytes, I have like a few minutes to myself, and then I start my day. And I think just like finding that, you have to find the time. We all have the same amount of hours in the day. You have to find the time to do the things that you want to do or need to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think time blocking is probably like one of the hardest things to learn, but like once you start to do it, it kind of starts to become like, it makes sense how to do it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you always want to get in real estate? Because you got into real estate. Like, what did you want to be as a kid?
I wanted to be a veterinarian. I love animals. And then I wanted to be a nurse because I love babies. And I wanted to work with babies. But I fell into real estate and then fell in love with real estate.
Were you always this entrepreneurial? Like, were your parents entrepreneurial? Like, where did this all stem from?
My dad is an entrepreneur, and I have always been entrepreneurial. I started selling, I lived on a golf course growing up, and I would go for walks at night with my dad, and we would find golf balls that people hit like shanked, like hit them way off. And I'd go find all those golf balls, and then the next day I'd be selling them from our backyard to the golfers, like used golf balls. And that was like, I started off selling golf balls on the golf course, and here I am. So, yeah, but I've always loved business. I've, built several businesses, and it's just such a huge passion of mine. And I know my husband is the same way. So there's a lot of conversations around business in our home, which is why we have to be intentional about not talking about business on date night, because otherwise we'll walk out and we'll have 6 LLCs started. So.
But I think there's also a blessing in that. Like, there's a lot of lessons that you learn in sales and business early on. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, for example, like just me, this is very selfish. I want like my kids to kind of like, I want to teach them some of the lessons that like I learned the hard way going through sales. Like, are you guys thinking through like how to teach your kids? I don't know.
Absolutely. Our kids have a game called Cash Flow. That's like Robert Kiyosaki created this game for kids called Cash Flow. Our kids know all about real estate. They invest in some of our properties. They have like, they take some of their allowance, and this is up to them, but they've chosen to, and they get distributions. Yeah. Like my son came home from school recently and was like, Mom, I started a business. And I was like, really? What is it? Tell me about it. And he started taking his toys to school and renting them out for $1. Like he's toy hacking. I'm like, what? That's amazing. So
that's funny. Like, I've never heard of that.
Me either, but I'm into it. So, yeah, I think that we love to teach our kids about business. They create, they have a lemonade stand every summer, and the money that they make from that, they get to keep, a portion of it gets donated, and then they can spend a portion, they donate a portion, and then they save a portion of it. So yeah, we're teaching them all about all the things.
That's awesome.
It's so fun.
What's something that you guys you're looking into 2024 in any aspect of anything, like you're just absolutely obsessed with, like something that's just like, this is just something that like I know I need to do in 2024? Like,
honestly, it's health and wellness. We've We've unfortunately, like, there have been so many people in our community and in our lives that we've lost this year to illness. And my husband and I are both on like this major journey to improve ourselves, mind, body, and soul, and just really um, dive into that. So it's definitely a journey, but I think that this year is that's a big focus for us.
What's that kind of look like for you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, I mean, I signed up, we both signed up to go get heart calcium screenings and, pre-cancer screenings. Um, and then we are both, we work out 3 to 5 days a week. We are holding each other accountable on that, and eating clean, mostly like a Mediterranean style diet, and drinking enough water, and just checking in and just making sure that we're both doing those. And then mental health as well. Like, I think therapy for anybody is so important. And, if you have any trauma in your life, going through like somatic release therapy. And so we're just breath work. We're just really diving into all of it and seeing what works for us. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I'm huge on health.
Yeah.
Like to eat the real food, like mostly meat, mostly vegetables,
Yeah.
Mediterranean style as well. How are you even allowing like the kids to go through, like, are you teaching them to eat healthy as well, or are
Of
you?
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my kids love to cook with me. So
Okay.
we bake together and cook together, and I make on Sundays I meal prep, and they help me to put together meals. And um, yeah, for Christmas, I got my son, hopefully he doesn't watch this, but, like this subscription for cooking, and it has like these different meals that we'll make together, but it's like meant for kids, and, um, healthy meals that we can make together. And, I think them they learn by watching too. So if my kids like to go downstairs and work out with us, they like to do yoga, and they just think they watch what you're doing, and they want to be just like you. So as long as I think it's important just to lead by example.
Yeah, that's kind of like runs in both areas, like
Yeah.
business,
Yes.
personal. You
Kindness,
mentioned,
all of it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's enough people who really like take kindness, like, and actually are kind,
Yeah.
um in practice,
Hmm.
because it's easy to say be kind, like it's easy to say to be like empathetic and not like, but in practice, like, I feel like that's one of the hardest things to also teach a kid too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think parenting, like anything else, it's just repetition, and it's just having these like conversations. And my kids need to, if there's something like going on, they need me to sit down and have a conversation and explain things. And we talk a lot. There's a lot of conversations, especially right now at 8 and 9, about friends and about our bodies and about all the different things that are happening. And I think, just being there to have those conversations and making them feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about anything is important. So,
Were you, because you mentioned therapy, like, do you guys go to therapy, or are you big on therapy?
yeah, yep. Personally, together, like all of it. Yeah.
Because we've talked about it,
Yeah.
and
I think we go in and out. We're not consistent with it's kind of like as needed. As far as like couples therapy, it's kind of like, let's just check in and let's see. It's never like a big deal, but it's like, let's just check in. And as being both entrepreneurs, both type A, both busy, sometimes we, find ourselves disconnected, or, you know, needing to check in and get back to where we're in our happiest. So, um, But personally, I try to be more consistent with it. And, being an entrepreneur and being a leader and being a parent and a wife and a friend and a daughter, sister, all the roles that we carry, I think can be a lot sometimes. And just to have somebody to a sounding board, I think, and to give you the tools to, I think it's important.
Here's me being a little vulnerable and asking. So do you go personally, you go to therapy regularly?
Yeah.
So here's my like mental
Hmm.
thought. My thought process is like I like to know who I'm working with is like very good because I don't want I don't know how to word it the right way without coming across bad. I
Just
want to make
say it.
sure
Don't filter.
like for example, like we talked about couples therapy and her being example, like she's an employee, like I'm an entrepreneur. Like my thought process is I'd want the person to be able to understand like both sides because
Sure.
if they're an employee like therapist, they might not necessarily understand my side. Like this is me talking to myself. Like I feel like they might not understand my side as like an entrepreneur. And like that's been like my hesitation on the couple side. And then
Yeah.
the other side is just I like yeah, maybe you can walk me through that, like being okay with.
Yeah. Oh, it's just like dating, honestly. Like you're not going to find you may have to kiss a few frogs before you find the prince. Like you may have to try a few different therapists till you find somebody that really resonates with you, both of you. And I think it's important to ask for recommendations from people that you are similar in similar situations. Like, if you know of somebody that's going to therapy and they once, you know, I I don't know that they have to be in the exact same situation as you, the therapist, like to completely
Hmm.
understand you. I, and they may not understand you, but if they can provide you with the right tools to help you to understand yourself and to help you understand each other, I think that's really what is needed. And there's different types of therapy. Like talk therapy doesn't work for me. I, for some reason, I have an aversion to talk therapy. It just doesn't work. And so for me, I found more like somatic release therapy with like breath work and massage, like body work, like stuff like that.
Mm,
That kind of therapy seems to work better for me. So, um, but I think that
nice.
everybody's different. So you have to find what works. I mean, I've had a lot of trial and error. So,
That's good. It's kind of like having the same thought process in that as any aspect of life. It's just like you just have to kind of dip your toe in. It's like
yeah,
and test it out.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I do want to just talk about this a little bit more because I feel like you've built a really good brand and
Mhm.
you just have a really good tune on content.
Mhm.
Just
Thank you.
when you look at your 2024 strategy,
Mhm.
break it down to like me, like how are you thinking through like your brand, your content, and just strategy marketing?
For content, my 2024, marketing plan is very similar to my 2020 marketing plan. It's kind of going back to what worked and recreating it on another level. So, um, back to that I see you everywhere campaign, like we're revamping that and bringing it back. And I think that it's important to stick with what works and to improve upon it. If you keep doing things that don't work, you're not going to see the growth. So, uh, I think that that's important for me, is to go back. We track everything, and just to go back and look at what worked and what didn't, and don't repeat what didn't, and focus on what worked, and then just do it better. So that's kind of marketing. As far as marketing goes, every year I've had a goal for growing the team and goal for recruiting, and I don't have that this year. It's just not. what's important to me right now. So we may grow, we may not, and I'm okay either way. So um, I've definitely increased my speaking. So I would love to continue to do more speaking in 2024. And I already have quite a few
Nice.
opportunities in the books, and I'm really excited. And yeah, I think that those are really my focus right now.
And when you mentioned focusing on what works, what are some of those buckets of what worked?
Mhm. Yeah, video, just really getting getting more intentional and being more focused on specific types of video. Um, our YouTube channel, just really building that out. I think getting really specific with our mailers, and if we're going to send mailers out, that we're really intentional about that too, and that they're not just like just listed, just sold, like just more interesting and more helpful. Um, I think those are some of the big buckets right now.
And
Yeah.
when you look at, if you looked at your entire business as like a pizza, and you look at the different slices that help you like acquire clients, and you had to look at it as like, this is gets 50%, this is 40%, this is like 10%. Where are you investing, like reverse engineering where you're investing, because you know these are working for you to help you get clients?
Definitely social media. That's a big one for us. I think that that's helped to grow as community events have been huge. And we're going to continue to focus on that. Um, yeah, I think that those are like the biggest, and then just really pouring into our clients and past clients, and building that referral network. We have a huge referral network. That's like, I would say, one of the biggest pieces to our growth has been referral, and just an agent to agent referrals as well. So just really making sure that we are so grateful to the people that do send us referrals, that we reciprocate, that we um, pour into our clients, and ask if there are any opportunities to speak to anybody that they know that is looking to buy or sell, and not being afraid to ask those questions. So ask for those
Nice.
introductions. Yeah.
So if people want like more, where should they go and find you?
Yeah. Instagram at Jen Dillard, Facebook Jen Dillard Real Estate, and YouTube at Jen Dillard.
Nice. Yeah, because
Mhm.
you have a lot of good resources, like YouTube channels. It's got a cool brand, and then you have
Yeah.
some great like Monday resources, and a
Yeah.
lot of great content on your Instagram too.
Mhm. Thank
um,
you.
you're welcome. So, what to you, when you think of becoming a world class leader and leading with world class leadership to your team, what does that mean to you?
I think it means being knowledgeable on what's coming, not just like with as far as the politics go and as far as the industry changes go, but also marketing and what's coming and what's important for us to stay ahead of and stay innovative, and making sure that my team is prepared for whatever is to come. I keep myself as knowledgeable and educated as possible through podcasts, through books, through events. I attend a lot of different events, whether I'm speaking or not, and try to be as informed as possible so that I can pour back into my team.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for leading by
Yeah.
example in all aspects of the business. It's not just like
Thank you.
one. You have your marketing, you have your actual client business, you have being the team, actually being a producer and a team. So you're doing you're really hitting it on all fronts and doing really well. So
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that.